It's about 9 o'clock on Friday, June 28th, 2024. It's about 78 degrees. No, it's 80 degrees with like 78% humidity. So it's kind of warm. And the sunlight, it's slightly cloudy, I guess. It's not too bad. Anyway, had a visitor, one of my subscribers, one of my watchers, viewers, whatever you call them. He wanted to visit the farm, so he sent me an email, and I'm like, sure, come on down. And we had a good visit. He's thinking of doing something like this himself. And I think there's several factors that make this, I think, one of the ideal businesses or ventures right now. Like, this is the time to do it. And it's kind of a combination of global factors and the emergence of this new technology, or the popularization of this new technology, I guess, because it's been around for a long time. One of the factors is that the average farmer in the United States is old, right? And the landowners are old too. And every time you get a situation where there's a bunch of old people and they die, you know, there's a dramatic shift, a dramatic change. So here in where I'm living, it used to be just a few people that owned all the land. When they died in the 70s and 80s, the heirs broke up that land and sold it in parcels. And so now it's a whole bunch of people owning land, right? Probably 10 times as many people, I'd guess. And when this generation dies off here in a couple of years, 40 years after the 1980s, then it'll be divided again. And so it's kind of an ideal time to get into farming, because the people who inherit this land, they're not going to want to work it. There's very few people that are actually, continuing the generational farm, which I think is a crying shame. Land is super valuable, not just financially, obviously, but for the utility of the land. And people who hold on to land and develop it and use it, otherwise wise stewards, can benefit tremendously from it. And the nice thing about land is it doesn't get old. Like a lot of things that we want to buy, like cars or computers or things like that, land sticks around. So anyway, there's that issue there. The other thing that makes it ideal to get involved right now is that we're seeing a shift in how people do things. And I mentioned that technology thing. What is technology really? We think of technology as machines, but that's not what technology is. Technology is the understanding of how to do things, right? It's skill. And so, like, we don't have any new, like, high-tech, whatever, computerized, blah, blah, blah. This electric wire technology is really old. It's been around for a long time. It's going to be around for a long time. There's really no reason to change it. Me doing this for several years, and I can't think of a single thing I'd change about it. And any change that I would come up with is not going to be like a paradigm shift. It's just going to be a small tweaking of, one minor variable that probably isn't even worth investing in. I'll give you an example of kind of what I was thinking is making special posts that are for corners, that'll be able to tension the rope when you go around a corner. Right now I have to use like the pigtail posts for that because they're, made of steel. But I imagine I could make something out of, plastic or something. And it might be cheaper to manufacture that way and provide more tension for the corners and things like that. But I mean, really, that's just a marginal improvement. It's not really going to change much about how you set up fences and how you do stuff, right? Anyway, so my point is that this technology, this, like, how we build, or the tools that we use haven't really changed. Our understanding of how to use those tools is changing. And, this is just scratching the surface of what is possible. I'm really doing the lowest minimal effort for results, right? And that's kind of been my philosophy my entire career, is like, let's find the low-hanging fruit and let's pluck that fruit first. And then after we plucked all the low-hanging fruit, then we can start looking at the other stuff, whether it's worth plucking or whether we move to a different tree, right? And so I'm looking for the stuff that's like cheap and easy to do. And I think the techniques I've been using, even with a minimal understanding of how grass grows, which, you know, is all that I possess, is yielding good results, right? And there's optimizations that can be made. You know, what breed of cow am I using? This guy is actually taking a second bite of that Dallas grass. I wish he wouldn't do that, but oh well. But you know, like moving towards the South Pole breed, which the South Pole breed should perform a lot better in the heat and the environment that I have here. You know, things like that. And those changes, they're important, they're significant, and it can move the needle out of loss into profit, right? If you have razor thin margins, you know, like a 2%, you know, increase in the number of pounds you put on the cows each day, you know, if your operation was running at a 2% loss of, you know, the revenue, and then you're able to make 2% more pounds, well, then you'll be break even or whatever, you know, stuff like that. Like those aren't really the big deal things, right? But the big picture, the big deal thing is just moving your cows, moving your animals on the land, and giving the grass a chance to rest. Should be able to produce free forage, plenty of it, and all without spending any money on fertilizers and weed killers and, you know, insecticides and things like that, right? So that's kind of the thought that I have, is that those two like factors combine into an amazing opportunity. And I'm not selling anything except animals. If you want to buy my animals, let me know. But it combines into an amazing opportunity for young people to, you know, get involved in an industry or sector that typically young people aren't involved in. So if you're considering like you know, software, electrical engineering, or anything like one of those STEM jobs, thinking that that's your golden ticket, I kind of got lucky. I put myself in a position to get lucky, and eventually it worked out for me, you know. So yeah, I kind of got the golden ticket, but the vast majority of people that I know never did, and for various reasons they never put themselves in such a position where they could get a lucky ticket, you know. But even, you know, looking back in my experience in the industry, it just wasn't something I'd recommend for anybody else, you know. And, you know, basically employment in any job is not really a future, because you don't own your job. You don't have claim to future income. At any moment of the day, your boss could push a button and you're out of work looking for another job, along with a whole bunch of other people looking for jobs that don't exist, you know. And that's a bad position to be in. And that's what STEM does, is there's periods of time where there's not enough engineers and mathematicians, and there's periods of times where there's way too many, you know. And what is it? Buy low, sell high is how you work on the stock market, right? So companies are gobbling up engineers at you know, discount prices, paying them just a pittance of what they're worth. And then when times are good, you know, companies, they stop expanding. And so you're not going to find those jobs that pay good money unless you're extremely lucky, you know. But the good news is that with agriculture, a lot of those factors sort of disappear. Everybody always needs food. You know, it's, if you're going to think about things, you know, like accountants and dentists, they always have jobs. It doesn't matter whether the economy is good or bad. People need to count their money. And when their tooth hurts, they need to fix it, you know. And so dentists and accountants are kind of like one of those special exceptions where it doesn't matter whether the economy is good or bad. You're always going to have work, you know. Hairstylists to a degree, things like that. But agriculture is in that same camp. Do people eat more food when the economy's good? Do they eat less food when the economy's bad? Pretty much not, you know. If anything, when the economy shifts, you know, from good to bad or bad to good or whatever, that just creates opportunities for you to find new people to market to, you know, people that are willing to try new things out, you know, and so it gives you an opportunity to expand your market, things like that. But the demand's always going to be there. Now, in this particular area, one of the reasons why I chose this area is I'm surrounded by sale barns, right? I can take my animals pretty much in any direction of the compass and find a decent sale barn and get a decent price for them, you know. Also, there are more feed stores than grocery stores in town, right? Which is a good thing because, you know, all the feed stores are competing with each other, and I can go from one feed store to the next and try to find the best product for my animals when I need it, you know. So this is a good place to do that, you know. So, and you know, we're plugged into the supply chain, the America's beef supply chain, and my understanding is a lot of our cows don't end up in America; they end up in Europe and Japan, which is fine. And that's, you know, that's a really good thing. And it's pretty much like when you're in the commodities market, you pretty much can always sell what you have, you know. Sometimes the price is high, sometimes the price is low. The trick is not to run a razor thin margin operation, you know. The trick is to find a way to get rid of your inputs, and this is the way, you know. I haven't fed these guys an ounce of hay since mid-March, I think. That's when I ran out of hay, you know. And even hay prices here are ridiculously cheap, you know. Transportation is easy because everything's like right next door. And the expertise for, you know, finding hay and stockpiling it, it's all here, you know. So this is kind of one of those ideal situations that don't arise often. And that's one of the reasons why I'm out here in the sun, you know, sweating, is because I think there's a big opportunity here, you know. Hopefully, this style of farming will create a system whereby you don't have to be super good at farming to see good results, you know. Hopefully it's something that my kids can do, either as a side job or maybe as a principal career, you know. They probably need some more acreage, which should be pretty easy to find. Not today, not tomorrow, but, you know, eventually. And they can teach their children the basics of this technique, and, you know, if their kids want to pursue it as a side job or as a full-time career, that's their choice as well. You know, either way would just produce money, and that's kind of the goal, is you make a little money doing farming. And it's something that your family will hold on to, you know. So there's a farm in the area. They have been cutting hay on July 4th, and only on July 4th for like the past 200 years, you know, maybe like 100 years. But they get really good growth. They don't put anything in the grass. It's just native grasses they cut and bale and sell. And you know, so the kids and grandkids and great-grandkids have turned it into kind of a party where they all get together around that time and just have a big party. And it's a little bit of spending money, you know. And they don't even have to harvest the hay themselves. They can pay someone to do that because they're making a profit, you know. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Guys, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.